The Newfoundland Labrador Tourism Assurance Plan is an initiative of the Tourism Board and its partners, many of whom have been able to join us on the webinar today. I'd like to welcome our partners and welcome all of you and thank you for your participation. To facilitate the discussion today, I'll turn it back to Craig to get the session started. I know he's got some slides to go through and some people to bring in, so I'm sure it'll be quite a worthwhile expenditure of your time this afternoon. So thank you, Craig.
With Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador. I am the Manager of Technology, Membership, and Networking. So technology is the piece that I want to bring forth today. We're glad to partner with the Tourism Board, the DMOs, IBRD, ACOA, and Tourism, Culture, and Recreation on the Tourism Assurance Plan and indeed on the Tourism Board itself. So what we're here to talk about today, and we do have a fair amount of material to get through. So I'll move forward as quickly as I can. But if you need me to slow down or one of our other presenters, do not hesitate to ask. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of a background on the Tourism Assurance Plan, what the implementation is, and what the next steps are on the plan itself in general. So very quickly, Vision 2020, which is the vision of the Tourism Board, it's to double tourism revenues by the year 2020. This particular piece of work, the Tourism Assurance Plan, falls under product development, and it is a top priority. And it is to support organizations and raise market readiness and quality standards, both in the public, private, and not-for-profit sectors. I said both. That's three. So a little bit. Tourism Assurance Plan, what's it all about? Well, in a nutshell, it's delivering on the promises. We have great ads. There are people who are coming to the province, and because of the ads, motivated by the ads, what they're seeing. And we want to ensure that when they get here, we're living up to, as a destination, what people were coming and expecting to get. I'm seeing three people with their hands up. Do you need me to answer a question, or are we just not putting their hands down? Graham, your hand was up? The latter? Okay, good. All right, keep moving. If you need me, jump up and down or something. So some of the challenges, I guess, from the customer perspective, the quality of service and experiences identified in the province as being a bit of a challenge. Value delivery, we want to ensure that when people come, they get the best value, because we don't just want them to come once, we want them to keep coming back. So it's for long-term sustainability. And there are standards across different organizations and different associations, but there's no one standard that everybody adheres to. So there's a gap. There's no coordinated effort, and there's a lack of a minimum standards for industry as a whole. So Tourism Assurance Plan, TAP, is the first step in providing assurance to travelers about the quality of tourism services and attractions being promoted in the province. And, this is an important piece, to be included in the provincial or industry memberships and partnerships, all tourism services and attractions must be TAP compliant or meet 5 common standards. And the standard we're here to talk about today is the standard number 1, the ability to communicate and receive messages from customers by telephone, email, and an online presence. And that's what we're going to focus on. We've already done a webinar on the credit card piece, so we're really not going to focus on that now. So the basics of TAP, I guess, when it comes to the online presence, is that an operator or a not-for-profit or an attraction must have an online presence comprised of at least one of the following. A website, or I guess one, a website. 2, a social media profile, specifically a Facebook page, business listing. Number 3, which would be like BB Canada / Craig's B&B, something like that, a business listing. So there are the 3 things that we're going to talk about in a general way, and we're also going to bring in some email, and I'm also hoping that we can talk a little bit about not only what the basic minimum standards are, but how we move a little bit beyond that if we so choose. So breaking it down, the first one is email, and I'm pleased to introduce, and I'll very quick introduction. Scott, maybe you.
I'm Scott Olford. I work at Infinitus Marketing Plus Technology, and so today I'm going to go over just really one of the, I'll say, the most important way of communication outside of face-to-face and phone calls. It's a simple method of communication, but as tourism operators and as a business going back and forth with consumers, it's extremely important. So we just want to go over today the basics of email, really, what the differences are between some of the more simple email systems, how it should be branded for your organization, and a few other things. And if I were to ask a show of hands, who has email and who uses email, I would assume that majority of you would certainly put your hand up. So with that said, email has been around since the late 80s. It has, for the most part, not innovated that much, largely due to the fact that it really hasn't needed. And as a tourism operator, or as a business, or as just a person yourself, it is a very effective way to communicate without having to be, back and forth in a instant format. You have hours or half a day or so as an expected amount of time to sort of go back and forth with that potential client or client or whoever it would be. So in saying that, there's many different ways that email can really look for you as an organization. And I'm sure you're familiar with Hotmail and Gmail and Yahoo and many of these free platforms. Well, they're very, very easy to sign up to. It literally takes 5 minutes. And, a lot of the time, the first step for email is to, sign up, adventurenewfoundland@gmail.com, which, of course, would allow you to put that within a tourism directory, the Newfoundland and Labrador TDMS system, many of these other programs that allow, an @Gmail or @Hotmail or what it would be. Now, as a added step and as a, branding ourselves and branding your own tourism business, it's advised that it's your actual name at the end of it. So, for example, it would be bookings at adventurenewfoundland.com instead of @gmail.com. And that's really just a difference of professionalism, and it shows that when someone's, comparing 3 or 4 various places to go and accommodators, a lot of the time, professionalism and the way that appearances are a big thing, especially for me when I'm booking a trip, and I'd say that, many of you, when you book a trip, even subconsciously, you look at the same things. So in order to professionally set up an email, there's a few items that, you're really going to need to take a look at. And the first is a domain name. How many people, let's actively use this hand thing. How many of you actually have a domain name that you use for either a website or an email address or whatever it would be? All right. I see people coming in pretty fast. And I'm going to assume that the rest of you probably, yeah. So I'm going to assume at least 90% of the room has a domain name, or at least 50%. And typically you can register a domain name on GoDaddy.com, a very popular one. Namecheap.com is a very popular one. And these also provide email hosting. And essentially you would go to the website, you would sign up your actual domain name. Typically, you would always register your .com and your .ca if both are available. .ca is fine if the .com is not available, but it's always good to have two of those. Then from that end, you would look at a platform that was provided by GoDaddy or Namecheap or many of these others out there. Certainly after, if you wanted to contact myself or Craig or Kay as well, we'd certainly be able to kind of guide you in the right direction and get that set up. It's very simple to do. And then from the next end, there's also multiple ways that we can use email. And typically, majority of us probably have a mobile phone. We probably have an iPad. We probably have a computer. So, in the summer when things are quite busy, perhaps it's an iPad that's connected to email so that, in between, checking someone in or in between, after the busy time for restaurant or lunchtime, you can go through, look at your emails that you have, reply directly on an iPad. And, as I always say that, response times are important, but, if you are busy, people do understand if it does take a little time to reply. So then I'm sure you're all familiar with Outlook. I'm sure you're all familiar with, a web-based system. And, in between these are really where you should be. On your mobile device and on your iPad, I typically have the emails actually come down and actually be on a device through the mail application. And then for my home computer and my work computer, I use a webmail interface, which is typically provided by the company that you would register this domain from. I see a couple hands up. Do you guys have some questions?
#6 if you do have some questions, and that'll open your telephone line.
I think we just got a couple stragglers on the hands up. All right. So typically webmail-based email is the easiest and the best to use, and it's for one large reason. You don't lose email, and your email is really everywhere. When you use Outlook, for example, let's say that your computer crashes and you've been using Outlook for the last 2 years or 3 years or whatever it would be. Imagine the amount of email addresses, and once you go into email marketing, imagine the amount of email addresses that you've collected. Imagine the amount of old emails that you can refer back to, so it's almost a script when you write back to them, just to save you a little bit of time. So these are all things that web-based mail do extremely well, and you'll never lose web-based mail. And I know that's a big thing for our clients, and I certainly know that for all of you is likely the best solution. And so then there's the couple requirements that I always see as being big is that when you have an email address, it ideally should be connected to a domain name from a professional perspective, and then secondarily, you should always have a very professional signature. And in your signature, you should have the company name, your specific name, so that person understands when they reply what your name is, if you don't introduce yourself. And it should also have your email address included. It should have your phone number included. And if you do have social media and a website, that information should also be included. If they contact you via TripAdvisor or another online property and they don't know that you have a Facebook or they don't know that you have a blog or a website, then that's a great opportunity for that person to get a secondary amount of information. And, I look at my email signature, and typically we get, myself personally, about 200 visits to our website every month just from my email signature from emailing people. So it's a very effective use of something that's completely free at the end of the day. And really that's the overview of email. Craig, I'm not sure if I missed anything. Sometimes the most simplest concepts are easy to kind of breeze through faster than anticipated.
Yeah, no, very good lessons. I guess by way of summary, the points that I took from you, Scott, would be get an email address, get a domain name, make sure you got a good signature, and web-based is probably the best way to go so you don't lose your email.
Exactly. And if you get an expedition in Australia during the slow months or whatever you want to do, you don't have to worry about that email's at home.
Right, because it's with you. It's in the web, in the cloud.
Exactly. It's up in those clouds somewhere.
Excellent. Barb still has her hand up. Barb, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, good. If you touch that character with his hand in the air, your hand will come down.
Will do.
10-4. Scott, is there anything else you want to cover?
Well, the email, obviously, I have a hunch that most people know what email is, use it quite often, and so on. Email is still one of the most powerful tools that we have. When someone actually emails you, I always try to reply within 2 to 3 hours, if at all possible. Even if it's an email to say, hey, listen, I'll not a problem, or there is availability. I'll get back to you in full detail a little bit later. When people are emailing you, think about the fact that they're already there. They're actively looking at your business and actively engaged and ready to become a customer. If not, they wouldn't be contacting you. And so, if you're spending a ton of marketing money, or you get all these emails and you're not replying to them right away, and it's taking days to reply. I know for myself, if I email someone and they email me back in a couple hours, I'm engaged with that person, and I'm probably not, unless there's a huge red flag, I'm probably not going to go somewhere else. Whereas if they take a day or so to get back to me, I'm like, well, my mindset's already somewhere else. So just always keep in mind that email is probably one of the largest proactive things that you can do to engage the audience that are already engaged.
Yeah, excellent advice. Alice, you have your hand up. Do you have a question? Pound 6, Alice.
Okay, what I was wondering, Scott, is that we have a really long email address, a Simpatico address, Grand Cadre RV Camping at ns.simpatico.ca. I'd like to know how we could get that shortened up to something like you said, like a booking at Grand Cadre RV.ca, something of that sort. But I'm scared because we've got it, we've had it out there for so long that how am I going to do that without major confusion?
Sure. So there's a couple things that you'd need to do. Of course, you'd register a domain name, which is a fairly easy process. Secondarily, you'd set up, webmail or whatever it would be. And then we deal with this a lot in the fact that either if we're rebranding someone or if you're trying to accomplish something different, you would simply redirect the email address, the emails that were coming to Simpatico, and bring them to your new system. And so that way, all the directories that are online, all the marketing that you've done in the past, When someone sends you an email, it just doesn't go to, hey, this address is no longer available, which is a horrible business practice.
Right, and that's what I'm scared of.
Yeah, exactly, and you're rightful to be scared of that, because there's no other method I could possibly say that, your website doesn't come up when you type it in, and your email address bounces back. Those are two horrible things. So you would set up a redirect from Simpatico to the new mail system, and simply when you did new marketing and so on, and in the process of the next 2 or 3 years, people would start seeing the new email address instead of the old one, and you'll be 2 or 3 years into the future, and then the old one, the old Simpatico one, really isn't being used anymore. You can keep it; it's there. If someone's looking to return, or if it's in some random online directory, people still get you, but you're using the new email address as the active branded one.
Okay, so basically the first thing you have to do is to have a domain name.
Correct, exactly. And I mean, a domain name typically costs between $10 to $15. Email hosting, can range from anywhere to $5 a month to $10 a month. But it's very, very minimal, and for the most part, every provider does have a large amount of, I'll say, similarity with their service offering, especially if you're not using a large. If it's only one email address, it's a very simplistic method to use, and I would say that most of you probably wouldn't have any more than 5 to 10 email addresses.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was an excellent question. It seems that we've lost the Internet in our office.
Yeah.
And that presents a unique problem when you're trying to offer a webinar. So if you have lost our screen, just stand by, because I'm going to join my personal hotspot on my phone. I'm hoping. In the meantime, Scott, an opportunity here to talk about, because I think many people do have email, and I think many organizations have people who have email, but they probably don't have a strategy to deal with. And I'm thinking now about, not-for-profits and museums and the like, where they're run by volunteers. There's only so many people putting in hours, so many different times. So is there, how would you strategize somebody who's trying to share a common email across a number of different people?
Sure. Good question. So there's a couple different ways to do it. I'll explain 2 different ways to do it. The first way is to have, when an email comes in, essentially if it's in the inbox, it hasn't been replied to. And then I would set up a folder structure. One for people that have been replied to, and then one that are currently waiting for some type of confirmation or need extra questions answered, or something that person couldn't get to. And so then the inbox becomes, hey, we need to get back to them right away, and then you have folders to sort of deal with it. The second way is a little bit more of an expensive way, but it does work, and it's essentially setting up your email address as a support system. So your email is really, when emails come in, they come into a system, and there's various, and I can get you a link of this afterwards, and Craig can put it up. So it shows how long it's been waiting in the system. It allows to see the entire thread, so you can go back and look at what other people within the organization also replied about, and so on. And it allows you to create to-do items, and it's email put on top of almost a client relationship management system. And in that way, the entire organization can really, at the end of the day, have a better relationship with the people that are emailing. So there's really 2 options there, 2 strategies. That strategy, I believe, costs about $50 to $70 a month. I've used it in the past for some of the clients that we work with. But for me as a business owner and my basic suggestion is just use folders in an effective way, and just think about it from a logical and what needs to be done right now, what can wait a little bit, and okay, what's done.
I think that's a great suggestion, Scott. I'm glad to report the internet is back in the office. So I think we'll move ahead, Scott, and if there's any questions towards the end, we can come back to those.
Certainly.
Thanks very much. By the way, I neglected to say that I was going to have some guest speakers come on with me just so they could bring a different angle, I guess, to this whole situation, and to let everybody know that there is a tremendous amount of support available. So I'm going to talk about what is a website. And I wanted to keep it on a fairly high level, and so I Googled what is a website. And funnily enough, the domain name that came back answer was whatisawebsite.com. So, I mean, when we're talking the power of a domain name, that's it right there. It says exactly what it's trying to do. The way they described the website was not necessarily what a website was, but how a website functions. And I thought that was important to bring out here today. There's three things you need for a website. Number one is a domain name. And Scott has talked a little bit about how you can get a domain name. They're not terribly expensive. The beauty of a domain name is then you own it. And so they can't take your email away from you. If you were to change internet providers and different things, you own that domain name. Second thing you need is a web host, or some company that's going to host the files that form, or host the content that forms your website. And then the last thing you need for a website is a topic or content to put on it. And I think that's as simple as we need to make it when we're trying to describe what a website is. There are, for the purposes of this conversation, there are three different flavors of website, if you will. Number one would be a business listing website. The other one would be a do-it-yourself website. And then the third type would be a professionally designed or developed website. So thinking about a business listing, some considerations, it must meet all the basic criteria of tourism assurance. That's the first and foremost. If it's going to be counted as making an organization compliant, it has to meet those standards. The second consideration is the domain name. Now, I took an example of a domain name right there. Now, it was a Google search, but I've seen domain names pointing to a listing page that were just as ugly. Now, who's going to remember that domain name? Nobody. So it's not an effective marketing tool. It's something that you can't put on a business card. It's something that you wouldn't include in your signature like Scott suggested. So we need to have something much cleaner. And I've taken a real-life example there of a business listing domain name, www.bbcanada.com/Leaside Manor. It describes exactly where you want to go. It's part of a bigger website which is driving a tremendous amount of traffic. And of course now when you get to that page you have to have the proper content on there. So that's what a business listing website would look like. I know that some organizations are building websites. NLOA, for instance, are building a website so that all their members will have the / in the member name. So it becomes fairly easy to understand who you're dealing with. The do-it-yourself website, and these are quite effective. And Brittany, I don't know if you're on the line there now. I attended a session in the Western DMO in the fall, and Brittany Taylor did a great presentation on a website that they worked on with Darren Park, or Four Seasons Tours. So, Brittany, can you tell us in 30 seconds or less how you achieved that? And I'm not hearing her online, so I guess that's not going to happen here. Basically, it's a builder website. You just get an account, you log in, you put up your photos, you select how you want the page laid out, and it's pretty straightforward. But you can see the results there look pretty professional. There's another example that I could, and I see Elroy is typing there. There's a heritage group or an entertainment group down in Marystown way, and I don't know the exact name of them, but they've got together and built their own website for the theater, and they've done a fantastic job. But it's one of these build your own WordPress type things or web builder. Scott, do you have any more names of build your own websites you want to share?
Literally just shared it a minute ago, just on the chat. For do it yourself, typically I always suggest Wix.com. It allows you. There's no coding. It's all drag and drop. And the beautiful thing is it's all very standards compliant. And you know it'll work on various different browsers and so on. There's another solution that is a little tiny bit more advanced, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is a system. It has a little bit more functionality for blogging and so on. And these systems actually also provide domain names, and they provide web hosting and that type of thing. And so, you know, if it's do-it-yourself and, you know, you want to write the content, you want to really take care of everything, it is a very time-consuming task. Probably going to take you anywhere from 60 to 100 hours at a minimum to put something together that you would be fine with presenting. And then you can sort of go from there. And I also believe that both of these solutions are responsive. So they work on tablets, they work on mobile phones, they work on regular computers. So different than, you know, a lot of the older systems and older platforms, these allow for you to, you know, cover the entire spectrum. You know, right now we're going to break 50% of users being on mobile phone this year, mobile phone and tablet, sorry. So when someone's visiting your website while they're here in Newfoundland from their mobile phone, the chances are if they get on a website that's not mobile friendly, that they're going to go to your competitor's website if it is mobile friendly. And there's a lot of research to show that that is true. I know for me, if I go to one website that's not mobile friendly, I'm out of there before I even read what their pitch is. I know I went on a tangent there, Craig, but that's a good couple options.
Yeah, no, excellent. So to do it yourself is an option. I think the commitment that you have to bring to a do-it-yourself website is just as much as if you had a web developer do it for you, in that it must be a tool, something beyond just meeting the minimum standards for TAP. It must be a tool that you see is going to bring some value to you, but I guess from the spirit of the whole TAP piece, it's a tool that's going to bring an experience to the traveler. And that's who we're trying to address with TAP. I'll always say, even though technology is really what I try to do here, that technology is never meant to replace the human interaction that we have in the tourism business, but it is meant to enhance it. So we must put our best foot forward when we're trying to develop a web space or a business listing, because we want to impart the experience we're going to have. And I think Brittany has done a very good job here with Darren's website on Four Seasons Tours. If you're going to look at the professionally developed website, I've wrote down a couple of things here that maybe you should consider. First of all, know what you want for a website. You must have an idea. I often use this example when I'm talking to people. Nobody would ever send me a check in for $60,000 and say, Craig, boy, if you're going up Kenmount Road, pick me up a pickup truck. That wouldn't happen, because if I delivered you a pickup truck, you wouldn't like the color, you probably wouldn't want the floor mats, you wouldn't like the stereo that's in it. Everybody has an idea about what their pickup truck should look like. But with a website, all too often, people say, now, who can build me a website? And the person who has the cheapest price and their hand in the air is the one you go with. Well, you kind of get what you pay for on that, because you didn't have a purpose for your website. Hence, it will never achieve what you think it should achieve. So you must know what you want for a website, and you must know what you want from that website. It has to have a purpose. And although we are talking about the basic requirements of TAP right now, it must extend beyond that. It has to enhance the experience for the consumer who's trying to get in to see your product, who's trying to experience all that Newfoundland and Labrador has to offer. Don't only buy based on price. I think that's pretty smart. You might get a cheaper price, but you won't get the best value if you go based on price alone. Skill up yourself on what the best practices of website design are. Now, that doesn't mean become a web developer yourself, because there's people spend years and years honing their craft to become good web developers. But you can ask proper questions so that web developers know, okay, this person knows what's going on with website design here. So just like with the truck that I'm going to buy on Kenmount Road for you, you'll be able to ask a web developer, you know, is this optimized for search? And now they know that you know what's going on. You also want to stay in charge of the process when you're dealing with your web developer. You can't just relegate this to the web developer and expect that web developer to deliver exactly what you need delivered. It will never impart the experience
Ever.
Provide. Go ahead.
It will never be a good experience for either side of the party.
And that's an interesting perspective, because I guess from the development side, Scott, you don't know what they're looking for.
No, I mean, you know, it's very much, we work in the business of understanding businesses and developing strategies and executing them online, but if you're not involved in the process and you just say yes to everything and you're not engaged, at the end of the day, you're going to get something that's not you, it's not your voice, it's not what you are, and you know, you're going to be investing money into this, and very much so when you go buy a $60,000 truck, you do a bit of research. You look at what the brand is that makes you happy, and then secondarily, do you have chrome on it or you don't have chrome on it? What's the traction system? All of these types of things. And much like when you're building a website and you're going through the strategy side of it, simply saying yes to everything is going to be a disaster. And the thing is, once you've developed a website, tweaking it and changing content is fine. But a lot of the time, what I see is that someone gets a website that they don't really want, and then they have to redo it again, and it costs just as much to do it a second time. So do it right. Do it first. It'll last you for 5 years, and just like a truck. It's something that you definitely have to be very, very proactive on.
Yeah, excellent, Scott. And a good tool then to deal with different developers, because really you want to shop around and see who's going to bring the best ideas to you and bring the best value. Develop an RFP, or a request for proposals, and that's where you're going to outline exactly what you want out of this process, what you're looking for. But you also want to leave enough room there so that the person you hire to help you in the process can inject some new ideas, inject some creativity, and ultimately it's when those two come together, it's the synergy that's created that should make a successful website.
And just to add on that real quick, Greg, when you're putting out an RFP, typically it's best to give at least 2 or 3 weeks for when it's going out. And then secondarily, as a web agency, we always like to see RFPs that are 2 or 3 pages, a little bit about the company and what your goals are, along with what are some of the functionalities and things that you would like. Going into a too in-depth RFP and putting too much information there, really what you're looking for is the portfolio of the person that you're working with, their team, the budget and the timeline, and what their process is. And don't get too concerned with the details of what exactly it is, because they should be coming to you as a solution-based company saying this is what you should do, and these are the best practices.
Excellent. Nice to hear that perspective, Scott. So we are talking about the Tourism Assurance Plan here, and there is required information to be compliant under the Tourism Assurance Plan. So whether you're doing the business listing, the website, or the Facebook business page, this is the information that should be contained on that web presence. The business name, contact information, email, telephone number, mailing address, location, business overview or synopsis of the product and services, hours of operation, pictures. Oh, pictures tell 1,000 words. And more than that, because they help sell the experience. The rates, what amenities are available, booking instructions, how do I book, and any payment options. That is the core basic requirements to have on any of the online presence to be TAP compliant. But there are other success factors. If we want to take it a bit beyond, because really the website is not only a place, a static place of information, it's a place where a business or an organization can build trust with the client. For example, if I'm a boat tour operator, people aren't just buying a boat tour from me. They're buying safety and security, and they need to know that when they get on the water with me, their lives are taken care of. So you're building that whole relationship, and the pictures and the way your website presents that will build that trust and will either convert them into a customer or push them off to somebody else. Content, you want to convey the charm, you want to have the pricing, any deals and packages. If you can have room availability or tour availability or, group availability, any of the amenities, and again, high quality photos, imperative. Usability, site navigation. I know that if I get on certain types of websites and I don't feel comfortable there, I just close the browser and get out because I'm not trusting the website, hence I'm not trusting the business. Scott mentioned before responsive design. This is the new buzzword, which means that your online web presence can show up the same way regardless of platform. So what we mean, if you're looking at it on a Mac desktop, if you're looking at it on an iPhone or a Galaxy or any kind of mobile devices, it scales itself or adjusts itself so that it looks appropriate. Responsive design, a very important word. Also, web and internet and technology has changed so that we can have certain tools on the website. And I always use the example of trying to describe to somebody how to get around Rollins Cross in words. It's near impossible to explain that because there's so many roads and so many, it's a job to get around it. But when you have GPS technology, when you have Google Maps, you can very easily explain to people, here's the tools that you need to get around. So these are some of the success factors we look at. There are many more, but these are the very high-level ones. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Joan. I see your point there. So that covers website in a very general way. Do we have any quick questions on that before we get into the Facebook? Okay, now I'm going to ask Kay, Scott's colleague, to take us through the Facebook page.
Thank you, Craig. First of all, I just want to say that since you guys have the initiative to double tourism revenue by 2020, that's really exciting for everybody here because that means that your revenues are going to double by 2020 as long as you're taking advantage of all of these opportunities that are available to you. So that's super exciting.
Now, Kay, before you get too far into this, I need to qualify something here. And we're talking about the power of technology and the power of internet right now. Most of you would not know that Kay is actually based in Hawaii, and she's doing this presentation right now from Hawaii. So she offers a unique perspective, one looking from the outside in on what we're doing, and also she's probably a little warmer than most of us today.
Very true. I'm terrible at converting Fahrenheit to Celsius, but I can tell you for sure that it's warmer here. All right. So the second thing that I'm really excited about is you Canadians are the most active group of people on Facebook. More than the U.S., more than Europe, more than anybody else. Canadians beat out everybody as far as the number of people that are active on that platform. So it's a huge opportunity to get your business in front of all of the people that are there. So to put some numbers behind that, over half of the Canadian population logs on at least once a month to Facebook. That's over 19 million people. I believe the number for Newfoundland and Labrador is over 350,000. So there's just a ton of opportunity here. And just another stat, 74% of those people, of the 19 million, check their news feed every single day. This is an integral part of their life. It's where they keep up with their family and their friends, and it's also where they keep up with the brands that they like, plan trips, all of those great things. So I'm going to give you the 30,000-foot view of marketing on Facebook. I could talk about it for hours and hours, and I do invite you to ask any questions at the end, but I'm going to try to give you the very basics so that you can get started and start effectively reaching people on this platform. So the first thing that we need to talk about is business versus personal pages on Facebook. This is usually the first question that comes up. So there's two different types of pages, and especially for the purpose of being TAP compliant, you need to have the business page, and it's definitely to your advantage. The difference between a business and a personal page boils down to fans versus friends. So on a personal account, you're going to be friends with somebody, and it's a mutual decision. You both have to decide that you're going to share information with each other. When you engage with a business page on Facebook, you can follow as many brands and businesses as you want without volunteering your own personal information. So people much prefer to connect with brands that have business pages than personal pages. It's a big no-no. Sometimes people got away with it before, but if you're still using a personal page for brands, it's time to switch over. Another benefit of using the business page versus personal is that it's going to be public, so it's searchable. So if people are searching Facebook for your type of business and it's a business page, it's much more likely that they'll find you. We all love to be found, right? And then the last benefit to having a business page as opposed to a personal one is that you can have multiple admins. So instead of sharing passwords with each other to log on to Facebook, you can just simply connect multiple people to a single business page. This is super powerful. We have a few managers on each of our own pages, and it gives us the flexibility and effectiveness that we need to manage it really, really well. All right, so to create a business page, if you already have a Facebook account, you can just click the little gear in the top right corner and click Create Page, or you can navigate to this URL. And I do want to give one side note. If you don't have a personal page already, you'll have to create at least a very basic personal page to be able to create a business page. It's up to you. It's your prerogative if you actually want to use it or not, but you do need those two separate accounts. But the business page is the important one for our purposes here. So this is the page that most people get stuck on, and they throw their hands up in the air and they're like, all right, not doing this. It's too confusing. And it's actually the first page that you come to when you go to create a business Facebook page. It asks you to classify yourself. And the first thing I want to say about this is don't worry about choosing the wrong answer, first of all, because you can always change it. But if you are in the interest of choosing the right answer off the bat, you're going to probably either look at the local business or at the company or organization. And the way that you decide between the two of those is you'll choose a local business if you get a lot of walk-in traffic.
1 second, Kay. We're getting some feedback from somebody's line, so maybe you should all star 6, and that'll mute your line.
There we go. Perfect. All right. So as I was saying, if you have a business that gets a lot of walk-in traffic and really depends on people finding your physical location, you're going to want to choose local business because that'll integrate your address very prominently on your page. If you always want people to go to your website first before they hire you, you're going to choose a company or organization. This is what we do because we have a team, as Craig said, all over the world, and we want people to engage with our website before they engage with us. So we have a company or organization page. So just a summary, either local business or company will get you started, and you can always switch this later. The next thing it's going to ask you for is for your profile picture. This is either going to be your logo, a picture that identifies with your business. Maybe if you're a bakery, it might be a picture of a cake. Or if you're a sole proprietor, it might be a picture of yourself. And then it's also going to ask for a cover photo. And this is like your billboard. This is what most people are going to see when they first find you on Facebook. So whatever you want people to know about you first is what you're going to put in your cover photo. And lastly, I'm going to ignore the app images because you don't have to worry about those in the most basic setup. Facebook takes care of that for you. But to the left, you'll notice that there's a description. And you're definitely going to want to fill out all of the necessary information in your description, including your hours, price range, the unique experience that you offer travelers, all those important things. That's where you have the chance to sell yourself. And another thing that you absolutely must make sure that you include, and so many people forget this for some reason, make sure you include links to other web properties that you have, so your website if you have one, or other social media properties, and make sure you include your email address here. So often it's not there, and it makes it very hard to find out how to contact you. All right, here's a pro tip. For some reason, when you first set up your business page on Facebook, it defaults so that nobody can write on your Facebook wall and nobody can send you a message in Facebook. So you'll want to go into your page settings and allow anybody to contact you that way. And then just make sure that you're monitoring it and make sure that you reply to people who contact you on Facebook. All right, next, let's chat a little bit about getting a custom URL. This is important because it creates a nice, short, bite-sized URL that people can, that you can put on your marketing collateral, your business cards, etc. And you're going to need at least 25 fans to do this. So my recommendation is to make sure that you invite all of your friends, family, close clients, and get that started as soon as possible so that you can switch over to that nice and pretty URL instead of the long Facebook string that it first gives you. All right. Lastly, I just want to touch on, now that you have this fantastic Facebook page, what to do with it. The biggest mistake that people do when they're posting on Facebook is they look at it the same way that you might look at newspaper advertising or TV advertising or radio advertising, and they think of it as a one-way marketing channel, and it is so completely wrong. The way that you're going to approach Facebook is to talk to your people one-on-one. So always use singular. Don't talk to you guys. Talk to your one perfect customer and talk to them like they're a great friend. Don't use the super salesy language. Just talk to them in a way that engages them and is interesting and it sounds friendly. And I like to use the 3 E's. I like to educate, engage, and expand. And the formatting is a little bit off, but I educate people about my industry and about what I know about 40% of the time. I engage with them and post off-topic things that will get people to like and comment on the post about 40% of the time. And then I sell about 20% of the time. And just to wrap this up, I just wanted to say that you don't have to figure this out alone. There's a ton of resources online. You can actually read our blog. We write about social media a whole lot, and you can read on there about what to post, how to engage with people, how to maximize your presence on Facebook. And then, there's tons of other blogs, or you can even go the full hands-off approach and hire a community manager to take care of your Facebook presence for you. So Craig, I'm not sure how I did on time, but that's all I have about Facebook, so I'd love to answer any questions that people have.
Okay, no, I think you did a wonderful job, and you showed that in a very short time people can have the Facebook page up and running. And again, with multiple administrators, that addresses some of the issues with people who are trying to share this among many people. I think we'll hold the questions towards the end because we have another presenter. And again, when I started this, I said, we're here to discuss begin to explore how to enhance the whole online experience, to think outside the box a little bit and push things. And our next presenter, okay, they're going to chat it up. The next presenter is Ash Rowbottom, and he has an online booking software system. Local guy. Ash, are you online?
I'm here, Craig. Thanks.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great, and can you see how to advance your slides?
I think so, yeah. Let me just try it. Yeah, perfect. So I guess I just want to take a few minutes to talk about or give you a quick introduction to online booking. I believe, in today's economy, having a booking system to manage your reservations online from your own website is kind of a must. Allowing customers to check online or real-time availability and being able to create reservations directly from your site will reduce overall administration, cut costs, and allow you to focus more time on your business. So I just want to walk through a few slides here today. I don't have a pile of time in the essence of going a little bit over. I think I got about 8 or 9 slides just to, give you a quick introduction. So some of the benefits of online booking is allowing your customers, again, to book with you online from the security of your own website. I know today we talked a lot about websites. More bookings online means less of your time required to create and manage. So if you're taking manual bookings today and you spend a bunch of time with the paper and pen, and every time you go to the grocery store, you're answering the cell phone trying to take or update reservations, this will certainly help. And again, right to that point, reservations will be accurate. No forgetting or mixing up reservations dates, your reservations notes, and you can view from anywhere. So you can view your reservations or take reservations from your iPad, your iPhone, or your laptop. So wherever you travel, you've always got your availability and your reservations with you. So our software kind of fits a wide range of business applications, including B&Bs, hotel, motel, RV parks, cottage, cabin rentals, boat tours. We've even had a couple clients approach us regarding recreation vehicle rentals and skidoos and whatnot. So all of those are prime type of businesses for our software. So our software, our solution is kind of very affordable, and we've been told many times by a lot of our clients. So just under $20 a month, you can have a standard 5-room setup. There's no credit card, zero commitment. There's no commissions. There's unlimited reservations. It easily fits into your own website, et cetera, et cetera. Email automatic notifications to your customers. Take deposits and payments. So accepting online payments, and that's becoming pretty key this day and age, especially if customers are able to check the availability on your website. A lot of times you may want to take the payment as part of the reservation, or you may want to take a deposit. So accepting deposits or taking the payment in full is kind of a critical process, I guess, in making sure that you provide the best end user experience. And the way we take payments right now is we use PayPal Merchant. So if you got a PayPal account, taking payments as part of the reservation will be automatically sent over to your PayPal Merchant account. And we're looking at integrating with some other third-party payment gateways now as well. And just a note there, you don't have to take online payments to use our software, but it is a feature that you can turn on or off. So booking from your own website. So once you sign up for the reservation software, it's really critical to integrate the software into your own site so guests can book with you online. The software seamlessly integrates into your site, allowing you to choose your own style, your own colors, your own font, your overall look and feel, basically, such that it looks like your reservation page, and it doesn't even look like our booking system is even part of the mix. So some of the reports that our system can do is the occupancy report is we've been told by clients is a pretty big manual process that they run every month. Our system automatically produces the occupancy report in tourism standard format. Guest arrival, departures report, house cleaning reports, just to name a few. So one of the big questions, I guess, that we always get regarding our software, I guess, and one of the big caveats, I guess, of using any cloud-based solution is the risk of an internet outage. So, what happens if there's an internet outage? How will the solution or the software be affected? And basically, there's a couple of things that you can do, to make sure that if you're in this situation, you're still prepared for when guests arrive or want to check in. And I'd like to say, I believe that, in today's date or today's world, that internet outages are likely rare, but here's a couple of things you can do. So our software provides you with a couple of reports that you can print off, daily arrivals, departing guests report, and you can choose the dates, and you can determine if you want to print off 2 days, etc. Every reservation that's created is automatically emailed to you and your guests. And we tell a couple of our clients, just create an inbox or a folder, just specifically for each month. You may want to create a 2014 reservations folder. And in there, just create one for March, one for April. And every time you get an email with a reservation, just toss it into the appropriate folder for booking and auditing. And then that way, if your system goes offline, you still got your offline email that you can access. And you can take a look at the reservations. And you can also use your mobile device. So just because your internet is down, it doesn't mean that your iPad or your iPhone or your other mobile device is down. So you can always use that device as well. And I guess one thing to point out too is that just because your internet is down, it doesn't mean customers cannot book with you. So if you've got a B&B in Gander and their internet, and you're a B&B in Gander and your internet is down, a customer still booking from Ontario is still able to find your availability and make the reservation online. Our software runs on a server where it's 99.9% up all the time. So I think that's really important. Automated backups, no hardware required. So you don't have to worry about backing up the system or purchasing any additional hardware. Craig, I whipped through this pretty quick in the essence of time, and I'd like to ask one question, I guess, if folks can raise their hand, of how many people today have got an online booking system in place? Folks can raise their hand. I see one hand, two.
I think the market is wide open for you there, Pat.
Yeah, so anyway, on our contact page here, sign up and give it a try. It's a 30-day fully functional software. There's no credit cards, there's no commitments or contracts. We've got a local support team that's great in helping you set your account up and walk you through the process. And I know overall, it could be kind of, a different type of feeling. You got a process that works for you, kind of a manual system and process that you've used for years. But trust me, I think once you make the leap, you'll be glad you did. So with that, I guess, Craig, I'll turn it back over, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to help out.
Well, that's fantastic, Ash. I think you did a great job. There was one question from St. Jude Hotel. Said, do you think business operators in rural areas benefit from booking online with places like Booking.com as opposed to our own booking application on our website? I'll take a run at that first. I think when we're developing any kind of a web presence, any kind of a booking engine, any kind of a tool, we have to know who our target market is, who our target audience is. So to make generalizations, I think, out of hand would be unfair. Because the view through which I'd look at this is what's the most convenient for me, and I'm very comfortable with online booking. But if your target market is such that they're not, or that you're actually trying to generate more business, mine for business versus people who are coming in, you may have to take a different approach. So to me, the key answer to that is knowing your target market and how they buy things online. Ash, do you want to follow up with that? Do you have any insight?
Yeah, and I was going to just say, right, like if you've got a website, it's really important to ensure that the keywords and how you're marketing your website is allowing people to find you. So if I go in and Google places to stay in Kings Point, and if your website is not coming up at the top of that list, then that's telling me there's a problem with your site, that you should be being listed at the top of Google. And if I click your site and you've got real-time availability and you've got reservation software on your site, then you're not going to need the Booking.com, because I'm going to be able to book directly on your site because I found you and I found where I want to stay. And I think that's where leveraging someone like Booking.com is getting ahead now, because they're obviously doing the marketing to make sure that when I look for places to stay in Kings Point, they're coming up before your website.
Yeah, good call. I see a follow-up. I don't know if that's Sheila or Marty or Sterling or who's there. Or maybe it's all three. Oh, Marty registered. Hey, Marty. And he stopped typing. So are there any more questions in general now? Because I'm looking at the time and we've kind of gone over, but as long as our guests are willing to stick around, I know I am. So if we can be of any value to you in answering questions, let's open it up a little bit. And I'm not hearing any. Okay, so I'm going to move into the very last part of the presentation. Again, if there are any questions, don't hesitate. And we'll get to you. So again, what we were talking about here in the most general sense was becoming TAP compliant, tourism assurance compliant. And the message that I really want to bring is that this is not a boom that's falling and we're heavy-handed. This is an opportunity, I think, for all the partner organizations to coach and help tourism operators to get over that line. We don't want to exclude anybody. The fact of the matter is, though, you will be excluded if you fail to reach compliance, but there's a significant amount of support available to you. And I'm saying the DMOs, and you all should know who your DMO representatives are, TCR, IBRD, H&L, ACOA, everybody's committed to doing this. And what I wanted to try and achieve here today was show you that there are many other companies who are in our industry, who are members of our industry and of our network, who can help you in this. So there's lots of places to look and turn and try and get some answers. So let's say everybody is compliant now. What do we need to do? Well, the way that we monitor that is through the tourism operator profile or top sheet. So everybody needs to complete your tourism operator profile by the end of May in order to be considered compliant. And once all the required fields are completed in there, that's when the system, TDMS, will report that you are compliant. If you fail to do that, you will show up as non-compliant. Okay? So I don't know if Karen is online or not, but basically you can do this one of two ways. You can do it on paper, the way you've done it, but there's also the web update piece, and there's a couple of screenshots here very quickly of the different fields that you need to have to go in and fill out your tourism operator profile. I'm not going to get too far into them, but if you have any questions about the tourism operator profile, there's a number that you can call to reach people. Oh, wow. I'm not used to having such support here. Or 729-5599. It's excellent when people are typing your notes. So the next step, are we meeting the standards? We're going to keep lines of communication open. All the support people are available for any follow-up messages. At H&L, we are putting information up like this recorded webinar. That'll be up on a resource page for tourism assurance. So if you have any questions, have a look there. If you're feeling pretty good now that you're TAP compliant, I still have a little challenge for you. You probably know people and operators who are not TAP compliant. So reach out to them, encourage them to get in touch with the resource people, explain to them that there's lots of help available. All they need to do is reach out, because we do want to get people over that line by May 31st. So I think that's conclude the official piece for me, but we'll stay here now for just a couple of minutes if people have any questions and follow up. I do want to thank everybody for joining today, in particular Scott and Kay from Hawaii. I can't tell you how that irks me, Scott, that you're in Hawaii. Very shoveling snow. And certainly for Ash for being available as well. So with that, we'll open it up for questions and comments if anybody has anything. If not, thanks very much and have a great day. Lynn, do you have any closing thoughts?
Not any concrete thoughts on this, other than to say thanks very much to Craig, to Scott, to Kay, to Ash, and to H&L, I guess, for providing the technical capabilities for the webinar. We will be planning another TAP webinar in the next coming weeks, I suppose. So I would encourage you to just have a look at your inboxes, and you can always check out hnl.ca for event updates or whatnot. We'll be trying to push out as much TAP information now in the next coming months as the deadline nears. And if you have any questions, get in touch with your DMO, H&L, or friends that may be able.
Can you explain the difference between Facebook groups and Facebook business pages? We've seen some operators using groups in their business listings on NewfoundlandLabrador.com. Kay?
I can answer that. A Facebook group is more of a collaborative thing. There is an owner of it, but the preferred method, at least when you're starting out, is to do a Facebook business page. If you have some need to continually have conversation with your target market in a collaborative manner, then I would add a group later, but definitely just focus on the Facebook business page to get all of your profile information out there first, and that's going to be your primary marketing method.
And just to add to that, something that I just thought of, we came across this for a client of ours. One of their employees started a Facebook page for them, but they started another one at a different time, and so each Facebook page had about 300 likes. And you can actually, if you created one, say, a few years ago, you were at a conference and you just created one and it got, say, 100 likes, and now you don't have access to it, you can actually request Facebook to combine the pages together, giving you just one page that has the information and you have access to it and so on. So just a tidbit there if that has been a issue for any of you in the past.
Excellent,
And
thanks.
Greg, yep, Greg, just to add to that really quickly, like you said with the booking software, the important piece between groups and Facebook pages is to think about your target market. They're much more comfortable to like a business page than to join a group. So that's a big indicator that you should use a business page.
We've well exceeded our time, and again, thanks to our presenters on this. Keep your eye out. We will have this stuff made available on hnl.ca in our resources page. This will be available. And again, get the word out to those who probably aren't on this today to say that there is opportunity, there is support, and that we really need to get over this line before the end of May.